Hey there, this is the Purple Wave, Northern Kentucky, and I am Carolyn Hankins Wolf, and I'm an independent out of Boone County and currently serving on the Boone County Board of Education, and I represent Division One out of Hebron, Florence, and Burlington. And part of the mission of the Purple Wave is to bring you information that you need to know about what's going on within your community. And this could mean your schools, your city, state government, education, and the state, local happenings, and current events. And to help you all find things quickly, we're going to have a glossary segment, which will be called What Does This Mean? And it will feature some things a little bit more in depth that you're going to hear frequently. And it will also include some elements of history at times to help you better understand how we are where we are or the history of our community. We will do our best to link these in the descriptions when relevant, so you don't have to hunt for them. But if there's ever something that you need to have defined, please reach out to us and we'll try to define it a little bit better for you. It seems appropriate that I'm going to start off today with the Rose decision because this is a decision I define it as the starting gun for our current education system in Kentucky. Before the Rose decision happened, there was a lot of inequity throughout the state in terms of state funding, and this is the story of how it was addressed and how we are where we are today. And the Rose decision itself was a 1989 Supreme Court decision that declared the entire system of common schools unconstitutional in the state of Kentucky. And this meant that every single law on the books of education was considered unconstitutional and they had to start from scratch. And the Supreme Court gave Kentucky 1 year to fund a new system. This whole thing started with the Council for Better Education, and this was a few superintendents from property poor districts and a few others that were just tired of seeing what they felt was the legislators failing to fund public education in Kentucky. And their whole entire intent was just to address the funding inequity that was happening in school districts that were not property rich. And they argued that the legislators were just failing to fund it in Kentucky, and it was a mess. So you had very poor districts that had very low education standards, and you had the richer districts were getting better resources, and it was definitely a problem, and it was in fact affecting Kentucky as a whole. Now, the Franklin Circuit Court first litigated the case for more than 2 years, and it was a lot of back and forth. The schools were accused of not levying all the permissible taxes, and superintendents were accused of mismanagement of funds. And of course, as I mentioned before, the legislators were accused of not living up to their obligations to make sure education was funded. Well, in 1988, that's when Circuit Court Judge Ray Corns declared that the state system was unconstitutional. Well, in a retaliatory effort, the General Assembly ordered an audit of the 66 districts that follow the suit. And through some back and forth, only a handful of these districts were actually audited. And it was found that they were actually not mismanaging funds, but they were doing pretty good with what they had. So the General Assembly, they wanted to appeal the ruling, and all parties decided that if that was the case, it was best to just take it directly to the Supreme Court. And then after the Supreme Court decision was made, the state passed KIRA and created a formula that was designed to equitably fund the state schools. And that formula is the established SEEK formula that we still use today. And SEEK is something I'll get into in a different segment, but in a nutshell, SEEK is based off of your property value assessments. So the higher your property value is in your county, the lower SEEK funding you get, or the less SEEK funding you get, and you're expected to make the rest up in your local taxes. And then in the poor counties that are property poor, they get more SEEK funding in the state because they can't raise more in local taxes. And that's the theory behind it. However, as you'll discover as we go through some of our podcasts, that is not how it works necessarily in Boone County. It's a little bit different. We have a little bit of an equity issue ourselves, but we'll get into that in another segment.